I'm really pleased to introduce our speaker tonight, Chris. He's a delivery coach and he's a BVSSH advocate. Not the first time we've had him with us. We had him with us about 10 to 12 months ago. And so this is a really nice follow-up and excited to hear more from yourself, Chris. Chris is bringing deep expertise in service design, delivery leadership, business analysis, and has got some credentials by the way of DevOps, Scrum, Lean, Six Sigma, and systems thinking. So very well credentialed. And at Adam specifically, he's helping teams and leaders continuously improve the way that they work. And tonight, Chris is going to give us an insider view of Adam's transformation journey, how their ways of working are evolving, and I'm sure how they've evolved in the past kind of 10 to 12 months as well, and also how they're using data to really drive their delivery insights. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Chris. Take it away.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks, Jen, for the invitation. Can you guys all see my presentation? Yeah, nice one.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Chris Atkinson, as Ben said, delivery coach at Adam Bank, which is based in the UK in the northeast of England. And I've been a SSH advocate now for just over a year, I think. Our purpose statement for our team, which is a team of 2 people in Atom doing delivery coaching, is simply we help teams to get better at getting better. So that's what we're about. About Atom then, if you don't know about us, founded in 2014, so just till our 10-year anniversary last year. We were the first app-only bank based in the UK. Based in the northeast of England, our team's just under 600 people now. It started as about 10 founders, I think, back in 2014. I've been there now for 7 years, so I've seen quite a bit of that 10-year journey as we've evolved. So our why, we want to change banking for good, for better, for everyone. A real challenger bank. We want to see banking done differently in the UK. Not sure what it's like for you guys, but banking's something that's kind of taken for granted by the big banks in terms of customers. Interest rates aren't as good as they could be. We want to do something different there and really challenge the market, ensure that we can have a banking that works for everybody. We're doing that by making the experience of borrowing and saving simpler, faster, and better value than anybody else. So one of the things we've got as an advantage of being mobile only, we don't have any brick and mortar branches, therefore we have much fewer overheads. That means we can be a lot more cost effective, and that's one of the ways that we can offer better rates to our customers, for example, in savings. So all of our customers interact with us through the mobile app. We do have a award-winning customer support team based in the UK who are always on hand to help anyone who gets stuck. And at the moment we're offering savings accounts, mortgages, and business lending products. And we are serving around 272,000 customers currently in the UK. So I'm going to briefly share our ways of working journey over the last decade. This was covered a bit in a video last year, so I won't go too much into it, but I will share where you can find out more if you want to dig into any of these, so that we can focus on maybe just the last year in terms of what's been happening since. So back in 2016, we went live. To get a banking license in the UK at that time, we had to get confidence from regulators. And getting confidence from the regulator in the UK means adopting kind of archaic, big old rusty third-party systems that banks have used for years. So to get the banking license and to get the bank up and running, we had to depend a lot on third-party applications and third-party vendors. Quite quickly, though, we started then building new elements of the bank out in the cloud. By 2019, we were getting into the Scrum Masters and adopting Agile frameworks and starting to build a lot more things in-house. And shortly after, released our first ever cloud-native savings product. We then had to kind of rebuild the rest of the bank and migrate off on-prem, off legacy system, third-party system into native clouds, Atom-built or cloud-native vendor-built apps. And we organized our teams then around kind of build, run, and improve type work. So sort of value streams kind of aligned in a slightly different way. We called this build the bank, run the bank, improve the bank, where work was kind of delegated off into those 3 tranches or pillars. And then around 2021, we started to get more into the DORA metrics, DevOps stuff, and become a lot more data driven with teams. And that was around the time as well that post-COVID, we adopted a 4-day working week. which has been brilliant for the last few years, I will say. What we refer to that kind of first few years, I'm calling that kind of ways of working, projects and programs era. There's lots of third-party people, lots of third-party systems, lots of things that just needed to be managed to hard dates and hard deadlines and contracts. And then from 2019 for the next few years, that was kind of our agile best practice era, if you like, adopting frameworks like Scrum, tried and tested what we would think at the time as being best practice, DevOps, Lean, and starting to get teams into more cross-disciplined functions. Into the last few years then, Andy Sturrock joined us as our new CTO in 2022. He came armed with a copy of Sooner Safer Happier in hand, as well as a bunch of IT revolution stuff, team topologies, making work visible, Phoenix project, the usual kind of IT rev books on the shelf. So that was the first kind of moment we became inspired to focus on outcomes. There was a few of us already in that kind of space in the bank. So very, very happy to see Andy come in and kind of wave that stuff around. Into 2023, lots of change. So by the end of 2023, we'd organized around value streams for the first time. Teams became properly multidisciplinary, so having everything they need to get their code into production. We started recruiting product management capabilities to run the value streams alongside delivery roles. So Scrum Masters became delivery leads, delivery managers, and then myself and Andrew became delivery coaches at that time as well. So we also created a safety team. We started adopting Slack in technology and launched a number of community of practices. So this is where we kind of got rid of framework thinking, hard, rigid frameworks such as Scrum, and became a lot more outcome orientated, and therefore changed some of the language to be more around delivery. That was to help kind of be agnostic of framework and start thinking more about lean, DevOps, agile principles rather than hard practices. So the communities of practice were really important from then on, because once we're in value streams, that can create a different kind of silo if we're not then linking up from a discipline point of view. Into 2024, we started adopting OKRs. We started hiring principal engineers for the value streams to help some of the technical sides of delivery. We started becoming much better at using real-time data to provide information radiators to teams. So those DORA metrics were at one point kind of hand punched in. By 2024, we had all of that coming in real time from Jira into dashboards. And towards the end of 2024, we started sharing our ways of working journey externally. So the video Jen referenced earlier, which is still on YouTube, we shared kind of this story that you've seen so far in much greater detail. We shared a bunch of ninja moves, successes and challenges. So if you haven't seen that one and you want to know more about any of the things I've chatted about so far, revisit that video. I'm sure Jen can share out the link. But what's been happening since then? So 2025, another big year for the bank, another year of operating profit. We've been investing in AI and tooling. Who hasn't, I guess, in 2025. We all have Gemini now at work, no matter what your role is. We've got a dedicated AI team for innovation in the bank. We've re-nested our value streams and renewed the delivery leadership, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in a second. We relocated our office from Durham to Newcastle. It's only about 20 miles down the road, and I'll share more about what that space is like in a second as well. And then the bulk of my talk today is going to be around the other focus point this year, which has been around starting to organize around flow metrics. So this era I'm calling finding our path. So outcomes, value streams, and flow. So we kind of went from projects and programs to kind of agile frameworks, and now we're in a kind of era of outcomes, value streams, and flow, very much finding our own path, and very much working well, I think, in that space. So talked about value stream leadership. You might recognize the picture on the right hand side because it's stolen with pride, right, from the SSH book in terms of nested value streams. I hope this brings to life a little bit what our delivery capability looks like. So earlier this year, we took the next step in transforming the way we work by re-nesting some value streams. So we had 5 value streams before: savings, mortgages, business lending, platform, and enterprise. Platform are kind of what you'd expect from a team topologies point of view, where you've got a bunch of teams building and running the platforms internally. They make sure that we've got good environments, production stable, but also the internal tooling that our other teams use, making sure pipelines are the best they can be. Do work for the rest of the bank. For example, we've got maybe a universal T's and C's change for all customers. Part of the apps that's kind of product agnostic. They might look after that, but also they might look after a risk or legal request that comes in, maybe to change our address because we're moving their office and so on. So we've re-nested some of those value streams, basically to help enable reprioritization of work, being able to move people around where we need to, where priorities change. So we've got 3 value streams now. Savings is still savings, it is growing very quickly. We've just about to launch a new savings product. We launched a new one last year. We're starting to get quite a portfolio of products there now, so there's a dedicated value stream for savings. Mortgages and business lending have merged to become a lending value stream, and platform and enterprise are now together as well. And each of those value streams, rather than having a delivery manager, they have now got a head of delivery for each one. So those have all been internal promotions, and those head of delivery roles now have more authority, right? It's a more senior position. They're therefore around the table on more senior committees. It's just really going to help to bolster the kind of leadership, the level of leadership we need to run those value streams effectively, especially as they grow, right? And we start getting more and more teams involved in value stream delivery from the rest of the bank. We've also got, you can see on the left-hand side of the picture, a number of capabilities run by a head of. So we've got a chief of staff that myself and Andrew now report into. We've got a security and service team, engineering, business analysis, architecture, and AI and data science. So our teams are then made up of those capabilities within the value streams. So far right-hand side, hopefully this makes sense. We've got the leadership team. They'll run a capability each. And then your delivery teams and your value streams are made up of mixed capabilities. So I might be an engineer, for example. So my first home might be the savings value stream. I'm an engineer in savings first. My second team, therefore, is engineering. And then I might come and visit a number of communities of practice that I'm interested in. Enablement teams we've got on there. That's like our safety team, service desk, my team, right? Delivery coaching, we're an enablement team. We work with teams across all value streams, but we also belong to a capability. I am chief of staff. And on to our new home. So we have moved to Newcastle down the road, as I said earlier. This is a big move for us in terms of the building is very old but very modern. So we've moved into the pattern shop. This is where Robert Stephenson built the first ever steam locomotive in the 1800s. So right on the cusp of the second industrial revolution. It's where railway was born, essentially, this building in Newcastle. The birth of rail. It seems like a very fitting new home for a bank that wants to be part of a new digital revolution, a new industrial revolution in banking. But it's been kitted out in a way that makes it not only low carbon and environmentally sustainable, but we've got loads of new fancy tech in there, while preserving the history of the building and making sure that we keep original beams and brickwork and things like that exposed where possible. It's also meant that we can redesign how people interact in the office and what the office space looks like. One of the things there that we've got then is like value stream seating plans on some of the floors. So you'll be sitting with your value stream rather than maybe in the past you were sitting with your capability. We've got a dedicated floor now for value streams to come together and collaborate and work, which is really exciting. So the rest of the talk, we're going to get into the focus on flow. I'm going to give this bit of the talk in London next week, so it's a bit of a dry run. First time I'm doing this, see how it goes. But yeah, this is all around how we've been looking at flow metrics and value stream mapping in particular, and trying to take that to the next level. So I'm going to ask you guys, if we're all in the room in London next week, to just simply put your hand up. Maybe try a virtual hand in Teams. Not just yet though. Nice that you're keen. But hands up if has anyone ever created a value stream map before? Got a few hands. Good. In the chat, I'll just give me a nod or a thumbs up. Do you find them useful once you create them? Get some good stuff from it? Worthwhile? Yeah. If you've never done one before, or if you don't do them as much as you'd like, what kind of, in the chat this time then folks, what kind of stops you from creating value stream maps and using value stream maps if you have any barriers to them? Or why maybe do you not do them as often as you'd like? Spot on, Ben. Time Poet. Didn't know about them. Cool. Any others? So something someone said to me once, they're incredibly useful, but time investment and logistics is so much time needed to create a map. Booking the room, getting everyone in, getting sandwiches or whatever to feed everybody. And then once you're in there, getting some data to actually build the map out. Maybe you've got data in loads of sources, you can't find the data, there's lots of anecdotal information coming in, recency bias and so on. And then once you've got the map and you've maybe put 6 or 8 hours into it, keeping it up to date and relevant so that you can still use it in 2 or 3 weeks' time tends to be difficult as well. So I've faced all those challenges in Atom. Here we all are building out some value stream maps last year. Lots of people in rooms for lots of time, lots of coffee consumed, lots of pizza in this case. And one of the things we spend a bit of time doing these sessions on at the start is teaching people, right? What is a value stream map? What shapes do you use? Kind of what needs to be in there, what doesn't. So Andy and I created this Lean Pizza Co. Session where at first we look at a pizza shop, what is the kind of flow of work from customer placing an order to getting pizza? How would you map that, just to teach people the principles? So now everyone's on the same page, they go off and they build a map, and maybe 6 to 8 hours later we finally got some kind of representation of what happens within the system of work. And you end up with something like this now, because we're all in Miro or something, doing virtual boards these days, saving the trees and the post-it notes. So you end up with this fantastically detailed map, maybe then hone in on 1 or 2 of these red bottlenecks to go after. And that got me thinking earlier this year. I've been doing these a long time, and you end up looking like this by the end of the session, where you've spent so much effort getting absorbed into the work, you're knackered, and you kind of look like a madman once stakeholders come in and you want to talk to them about what needs to change. And the team's exhausted, so there's normally a follow-up meeting or follow-up session to start talking about ideas and how we can start fixing flow. So this is almost like a value map of creating a value stream map, if you like. You've got to gather the right people. You've got to get alignment then on what mapping practices you're using. You've got to collect a load of data. You've got to create the map itself. Then we get into the good stuff, finding opportunities, generating ideas, doing some experiments, hopefully getting some results, and then seeing an actual improvement. But there is a lot of investment required in this first section. So the time, the coordination, everything we mentioned before is a big upfront investment for teams before they actually get to finding an opportunity. And that got me thinking again around, I've been doing this for maybe 15 years. I think my first value stream map was 2010 in a different bank. And back then I was doing lean stuff, physical lean, and I'd be sitting in a mail room watching people opening letters and sort them and then scanning them into a system and then going to an admin team and people reviewing those documents. And the map I would have built for that probably followed more or less the same process as I'm doing 15 years later. The only thing that I can think of really what's changed to improve that process of mapping is maybe the ability to have a remote meeting like we're doing now, and the ability to quickly digitize the map, right, in kind of a digital whiteboard. But other than that, there's not really been a lot of innovation or change into the process itself. So that kind of set me off on a bit of a thinking quest. And shortly after, I came across Steve Pereira's excellent flow engineering book. Don't know if anyone's dived into this year, but really, really interesting book all around value stream mapping and effective ways to do this. And a massive light bulb moment for me. On the right-hand side there, you can see one of the maps in the book where the suggestion is, rather than having this big, huge map where you've done all the detail first, just map the kind of highest level view of your process. So categorize everything up into as high level as you can. Find out where your bottlenecks are there, and then only map more detail where you know then there's a bottleneck, and keep following that process. You'll save loads of time. So I'm like, wow, how have I never thought of that before? And I think there's a great phrase in the book there around, only dig where you know there's gold as a principle. So, okay, light bulb went off for me there. And then later on, another light bulb went off when I started realizing in the world we're in now, we've got so many what I call like digital footprints around the bank in terms of where work travels. It leaves some kind of footprint. So whether we're in Confluence or Jira, GitLab, anything we do really now remotely, we're on a laptop somewhere. Therefore, there's some kind of digital record, some kind of digital footprint out there of what's happening with work. So no longer am I sat in a mailroom with a stopwatch and a sheet of paper watching someone open 20 letters to categorize them and time them. Everything we do now is kind of digitally represented somewhere already. And then final light bulb was when I was seeing our data science team, what they're doing at the moment with Tableau. So if you're not aware of what Tableau is, it's a data visualization tool. Other data visualization tools, I'm sure, are available. We've been adopting Tableau in Atom, and I was blown away by the ability of the team to visualize data in almost every way you could imagine, in these kind of very accessible sheets or dashboards. And that was kind of the final light bulb for me to have this idea. So I was thinking, what if there was a way to capture all of these little digital footprints we've got knocking around, and almost build a value stream map in real time in Tableau? Surely we can do that. We would just have to agree kind of how we categorize up different workflow states. And yeah, that led me to put this together as a kind of vision. What would this tool look like if we could do that? So in the top left corner, you can see here, imagine you can come into some tool and go, okay, I want to see work for a certain value stream, or maybe a sub team within the value stream. Maybe I only want to look at user stories or some other issue type. Maybe I only want to look at user stories with a small, a medium, or a large estimate size. Maybe I want to look at that over a certain date range, or maybe actually I don't want to look at anything related to teams or value streams. I just want to look at an actual initiative or a product. So maybe I want to see, a map of how long it took to make X savings product rather than this team for the last 2 weeks or whatever. So something where you could get analytics and a map for a piece of work or multiple pieces of work over a period of time for a team. And then once you've done that, it would filter for you, here's your flow efficiency, here's your flow distribution, so a percentage of time a team has spent building new things versus keeping the lights on, for example, and even flow contribution. So say we put a product in there, maybe there's multiple value streams contributing to that product. Maybe there's work from platform as well as core savings team. And because all the data is in there, it would then give you, for that initiative or product, for example, here's your overall lead time to value. And then here's your cycle times, your lead time for changes, your DORA metrics in there, as well as this visualization on the bottom of at a highest level, here's where time was spent, and a mini flow efficiency, if you like, for each section. And then finally a throughput, right? So how many things have come through the system in that time. So I took this sort of vision, thought of the ability to drill down. So to Steve's point in the book, mine where there's gold. So you'd be able to click on a section then and drill it down into a more detailed view, more detailed map. And I took this idea to our data wizard, who's going to join me next week in London. So I can't do a grand entrance for him now. But just imagine Gareth has appeared. Gareth is our lead BI guy, runs the data visualization team. And I kind of crazily talked him through this idea, which I thought was maybe too good to be true and a bit crazy, which Gareth kind of just said, yeah, we can do that. That's easy, no problem. And we've built one. So we're into a proof of concept. I'm going to do the thing you're never supposed to do on one of these calls and try and do a bit of a live demo. So see what happens if I go to share this tab. Let me know if you guys can see this. Yes, so you'll notice we haven't got the filter yet, but what you can see here is some real data. Sorry, I've got the dog getting involved. This is one of our teams, one of our value stream sub teams to 6 weeks of data, and in that 6 weeks they've got 32 items through the system, if you like, 30 throughput on the end there. So 32 user stories done in production, being used by customers. And you can see then that their lead time for that 6 weeks, cycle time and lead time for change, averages obviously. And then you've got their overall flow efficiency as well as those high level states and time in each status. These little 100%, 91%, that's kind of like a quality metric in that how many of those went to the next stage and how many went back to a previous. So you can see our QA to release is 91%. That means some of our work went back, right, failed QA. So that's really good data for the team. Maybe they want to go and look at those and see, okay, what happened there. They can click on this and they can see the Jira references for the tickets that went for QA but didn't go for release. They went back to in development, so they can go and have a look at dates and go get stuck in, find a bit more about what happened there. If we just wanted to look at that section itself, we can then break down QA into its relevant workflow parts. So we're drilling where we know there's gold, if you like, and now we can see the bulk of the time spent in this ready to deploy to pre-prod state. So we can just click on that, and that gives us now, that's less than 1 day, right? So it's now looking at hours. So you've got a range between 170 hours to 3 hours. Again, ticket references ready for people to go and look at more detail in Jira, but we can shortcut them straight to the good stuff. They can click a button and see all the comments from that period of time it was in QA, if they want to start looking in the tool to see what happens. So we've got that ability to kind of drill in and drill out, and there is a bit more investigation work to do. You've got those Jira references to go have a spy and see what's going on further down the line, but hopefully you can see there straight away how much time we've saved in terms of what we need to do for that team to get them in a room, to get them mapping their flow, finding the data, etc. Still lots we want to do with it. I'm going to share screen again. Sorry, closed the wrong one. So yeah, lots still to do, but the hard work is done. I think we've proved that it works. In terms of how it works, Gareth is the man to chat through the solution in a bit more detail, but my crude kind of drawing, there's ticket types we've got in Jira Product Discovery, Jira, and we can pull GitLab data into Jira as well. There's a Python script that can hit the Jira API and pull all that into a lovely data lake for us, and then that feeds into the Tableau report. For the very first initial proof of concept, we just scraped the data manually, right, just to prove that it worked and we could visualize it in the right way. But yeah, that's it for where the map's at the moment. I've got a million ideas I won't go through now of where we can take it next. I'm trying to be a good product owner and get it into teams and let the teams tell me what they want to see in it next, and generate some new features in there from the users of the tool. And there's probably ideas to build a backlog for this stuff, if you like, for years. So I thought it'd be a good idea today to kind of give some free ideas away, right? These are other thoughts I've got we could use the same kind of solution for, but it might be ages before I get a chance to do it. So feel free to steal these free ideas. So team topologies, hopefully you guys are aware of the team topologies diagrams and the ability to kind of draw out what teams look like. And if you've got your head in the book, you would have seen the chapter where we talk about team APIs. So this is a tool that allows teams to communicate with each other in the right way. The information in that team API is usually on a Confluence page or in a static document somewhere. If you took the team API answers to those questions and put them in a table format, i.e. row per team, and then columns of your team name, the value stream the team's in, what team type they are, which teams they interact with, how they interact with them, which software that they own. Imagine then that data being a table form would allow you to use the same concept to automatically build team API data into team topologies diagrams. So rather than having to sit and manually diagram out all your team interaction modes, you could get your data to do that for you. Also with dependencies, so in Atom, we'll have people handing over work in Jira. There'll be Slack to Slack channel communication. There'll be meetings and calendars with various team members in. There'll be people looking at code together in GitLab, and the diagrams we just mentioned from a team topologies point of view. What if we could pull all that data, look at where teams are talking to each other, and start building out some assumed dependency maps? Maybe we would find loads of unknown dependencies, loads of handovers we didn't realize were going on, knowledge gaps, and so on. And finally, we can't do a talk in 2025 without mentioning AI in some way. So here's the inevitable AI moment, AI integration. So Tableau has a built-in AI agent. We could start looking at that. Imagine you're in the tool and you don't want to click around on the map. You could just open a chatbot window and say, where's my largest bottleneck in London? Where are my 3 longest wait times? Based on my throughput for the last 6 weeks, what should my WIP limits be? And we'll be able to harness the power of LLM to look at the data and answer that question for you. So, call to action for everyone on the call today. I want you to go out and automate your flow visualization. No more sticky notes and pens and 6 hours in a room. We've got data out there. We've all got these digital footprints. We'll all have some kind of data visualization tool, hopefully. Why? Hundreds of hours saved across the year in mapping that you can reinvest into actually talking about how do we fix this. Less reliance on anecdotes and recency bias. Data doesn't lie. Automated data at your fingertips is always going to be true. It doubles up as flow metrics reporting. So you get for free by doing this lead time, flow efficiency, flow distribution, which are all usually quite hard measures to get hold of. It democratizes value stream mapping. These tools like Tableau, it's self-service for all. Anyone with a license can go in and look at that flow. That means stakeholders can go and have a muck around without needing to sit through an hour with a coach to tell them what value stream mapping is, what wait time is, what active time is. It's intuitive to go in and pick through this stuff. Also, it means for teams, again, they don't have to wait for us to be free to facilitate. They can get stuck straight in with the tool. They can be looking at it for 10 minutes in a team retro. And the last one is, I feel like this is quite powerful stuff, and it's just 3 or 4 of us chugging away in Atom. Imagine what we can achieve as a wider community then if we all start thinking about how we leverage data in this way. That is it from me. Thank you for listening. If you want to know more about Atom Bank, there's a link there, well, a website there, atombank.co.uk. Jen, I'm sure I can share the link for the previous chat we did about ways of working, and you can find me on LinkedIn. That's it. Thank you very much.